Hello everybody, this is Starman and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. Well, last time we had just reached the city of Armengar, and I went in long enough to explore the naphtha mines. Armengar, or Sarsbania as the Mordhel call it, is a city that featured prominently in the Raymond Feist novel A Darkness at Sephinon. This was the city which the Mordhel sought to sack before they moved southward to the kingdom. And they did spoil a little bit of details in the description of the place about how the city was set on fire by the man commanding it rather than let the Mordhel have it. And we cannot sell any more of the... Oddly enough, the weapon shop has no use for poisoned arrows either. I don't think we have anything else that we might be able to interest them in. Nothing of interest here. We'll go and check out the tavern. The Giant's Broth. Conversation within the room halted briefly as Gorath pushed his way inside the room, returning a nod from a rough-looking pair of mercenaries who otherwise seemed engaged in a dispute over a lost bet. And we made 77 gold off of that. The gambler shook his head. And we get the usual, we're not going anywhere. You do, however, see a very distinct figure here. Gorath motioned to the figure across the room. The man walked over to join them. He stood before them, his eyebrows arched inquisitively. And, yeah, interesting nose ring there. Drink what you can, for Delicon will have the rivers running piss and chickens laying dust for us once this is at an end. There's nothing to be gained in this campaign, but those sparks in his eyes have blinded him. Damn the six. Damn those magicians that lead us to death and imprison us all. I see that you have little wish to keep your head attached to your shoulders, Imriel. Your tongue wags and you drool your brains onto the table for all to see. Your drink makes you a fool. Whatever the drink makes me is only of concern to me and the tavern keeper. Leave me, Yellowtail. I suggest you consider advice to one who has suffered Delicon's wrath and lived to tell the tale. I take it by some acquaintances of yours that you have been detained by Delicon's magicians. What of it? Nothing's to be done. The six have thrown Obkar and Venture and his dogs, and tomorrow they'll come around and hurry the lot of us to our deaths. I propose we help one another rather than work against. What could you offer in exchange for Obkar's release from the naphtha mines? If you could manage that, I can get you half the boy's weight in gold or the equivalent thereof. Obkar's tribe alone would willingly pay such a ransom. Then get you hence and gather those fees, and we will see what may be engineered. We'll meet you again in this tavern once we've achieved Obkar's release. So yes, this is how we are going to get out of the Northlands, because even though we haven't headed that far south, there is in fact a rather difficult fight ahead of us if we were to try and move southward across the bridge out of the Northlands. And I'm resting just because this is too good of a vial of restoratives to leave behind. But we need a password to get past the guards to the south. And in order to get that password, we're going to need some help from the other tribes that are not pleased with Delicon at the moment. And we can spare 12 for one shot. group, we won't be able to do much, but yep. Yeah, anyway, we have this whole story about how in order to get past them, Gorath shook his head. The guard eyed him suspiciously, then motioned on. Your mercenary friend's been lean. Don't you think he's only a stripling? Without dropping his gaze, Gorath replied, he is no mercenary, but a spy sent from the kingdom to steal secrets from the Six. He has told me where the other soldiers are waiting in the hills. The Six told me I'm to go with him and find out if this boy is telling the truth. The guard didn't hesitate. The Six have no authority to tell you to do so. Only Morloff can authorize passage across the span. Now leave the both of you before we run you through. Okay, so no going southward until we get the password from Morloff, and no getting to Morloff because his armies will kill anybody who approaches the city he's in, which is why we avoid it in the first place. So what we're going to do, as the conversation before indicated, is that we are going to head eastward a bit. Because unfortunately they don't give you the immediate directions on how to find this place. But there's a slaver who is operating the mines here. If my nose does not mislead, we must be nearing the Naphtha caves of which Emriel spoke. It will be critical for you to cooperate with all that I say if we are to get Abkar out of these caves alive. Why are we even doing this? Why don't we simply head south? Abkar is a name familiar to me, and I believe he may serve a purpose with his freedom. Kin to me in irritation, he has prickled Delacon's ire times enough that we may depend that he will avenge himself upon his captor. You're hoping then he's as much bother Delacon as Narab then, so what will we need to do? Vinditure of land operates in this locale and is known as a trader of slaves. I will offer you into slavery. You're going to what? Do not alarm yourself over much. Venturer would have no need of a scrawny young boy in his Naphtha caves, so will undoubtedly insist I see his operations. Reassured you will not be ill-treated, and we have wintered into his caves, undoubtedly the both of us will be taken captive. This is your brilliant plan. We just got away from Delacon and Sarsargoth, and you want to get us captive again? We have a way out, however. As you may detect by the stench of this river that runs hard by, the naphtha mixes with it from the underground, which runs through the caves. It has, since the day Guy Dubas Tyra torched Armengar. I know this because I have had words of others once held captive by a Venturer. Once we are ready to leave, we dive in the underground river and will emerge somewhere downstream. No one has ever died doing this. I have met none that have. Come, we have business to attend to. So, yeah, we do at least get some logical reason for why we're doing this. If we don't head south and find out we need a password first. I'll go ahead and camp overnight, get Owen fully rested, or a bit more rested. Gorath noticed a circle of holes. Instinct taking over common sense had failed him, he shouted for stillness. Don't move. In our daydreaming, we've allowed ourselves to wander straight into a trap. Yeah, thankfully, this is one that we can deal with quite easily. And then just run around behind the other cannons, and boom. And yeah, we don't get the treasure chest, but a figure lurched from the mines. The man had black hair cropped short over his expansive forehead, revealing a dark birthmark which curled from his hairline to just below his left eye. Looking them over, he nodded to Gorath. You're trespassing on private property, Moradhel. This area is restricted for commerce, not loitering. But I am very interested in your commerce, sir, and that is the very reason why I sought you out. I wish to sell you the boy. What? Pah, pitiful. He bawls like a calf. We have to feed him a herd to get enough meat on his bones. He's weak, probably diseased. Doesn't look like he's eaten in weeks. His looks are deceptive. Single-handedly, he slew my partner with a kitchen knife, and he broke my mate's arm. He will grow into an even stronger man. Impressive, but he sounds like trouble. You have to fight him every day to keep him from escaping. I'm not getting sold to anybody. Mercenaries have a little good if he is easily overcome, don't you think? Break his will, and he will be invaluable to you. He looks noble, and I don't want bounty hunters sent from the kingdom in my business. He was a chamber boy of no importance. You'll have no trouble with him. Of no importance? 150 sovereigns, take it or leave it. But before you clap hands on us, will you care to view our operations here? An intriguing notion, if it would not trouble you. No trouble at all. My guards will escort you. Moradhel surrounded them. Chuckling to himself, Vinchiture looked at the pair of them over as if they were oxen bought at the market, examining first Owen, then Gorath with great interest. Too easy, he said with a sigh. What kind of fool do you take me for? The boy is of no use, Gorath, but you are a prime slave indeed. You will enjoy your new life below. Seized by a myriad of hands, they were dragged to the mouth of the cavern and thrown in. For an eternity, it seemed they stumbled down steps. And yes, we are in a dark cavern, but we must remember, this is an aphthomite. So if we're going to set up a light in here, we don't want to light a torch. Why? Well, since I saved the game, let me show you. Owen rushed to stop him. Gorath, don't! There's Nap! A deafening explosion echoed through the caverns, engulfing them both in killing flames. Yeah, rather amusing, non-standard game over there. But this is why we saved this ring for so long. So yeah, we have no way of being able to get up out of here. Thankfully, they didn't take our weapons from us, so we can easily fight our way out. All too easy. And yeah, just in case, even though I don't think they trapped the chest here, Noble Passkey, which we thankfully have one of. Unfortunately, we will need to get rid of something in order to... But yes, these masks are needed in order to get past the fumes in this place. And we did manage to ambush them. And we're going to need to rest Owen up a fair bit. But the good news is that getting knocked to... Well, I thought that getting knocked to bottom of his health would... and actually it did, because... well, as I was about to say before I cut myself off, I had thought that getting reduced to dying would cure Owen's poison condition, and it did. Because even though we got the text about him dying of poisoning, it wouldn't let us use the antidote. So, a bit more gold, a bit more rations. Owen felt dizzy. The air next to the river was heavy with naphtha fumes, and breathing it nearly made him pass out. "Are you sure this leads out?" Gorath nodded. "Delicon and a few others of my clan placed a few others of my clan here. They told me how they escaped. But first we need to find Obkar and assist him with whatever he needs." So, yeah, we have to go back a bit. Gorath halted. Staring at Owen intently, he waited for the boy to explain himself. "You tapped me on the shoulder. You wished to speak to me." "No," a voice from behind them. "I did. I had thought at first myself deluded, but I see I am not. How is it that you are here? I had heard that your head had been pitted on a stake outside Sarsargoth." "Not all who live in the Northlands bend to Delicon's will. Providence would have it that he posted a guard outside my cell who was a close cousin and sympathetic to my situation. He bought time for my escape." "So your cousin's head now hangs in your stead. You have a grave responsibility on your shoulders. All the more reason to see it end to Delicon's reign, Obkar. He shall pay his blood for mine. For each offense against my kin I will redouble it against his flesh. I will allow him no quarter, give him no mercy, stay no blow against him for all he has done to our people. I should think you would agree, Obkar. On the graves of all he has slain, I swear that my cause is yours, Gorath. However I may aid you, you need only ask, but all this talk is fruitless. We must first escape this place, or there will be nothing left to avenge. I have been told by some who were taken captive here before that there's a river that runs underground and mixes with the Isbani River. I have seen it with my own eyes, but the fumes that come from it may rob the strength from a man. On occasion I have seen some of Venturi's men wearing masks made of bone and cloth. If we three had them, I believe we could make the escape. It is Providence, then, that we have already obtained them. Take this one and make good your escape. I see that there are many in the Northlands who will have amends to make of this war once Delicon has been halted. In amends I have no interest, Obkar. I am long past thoughts of the throne of Sarsargoth. I dream only of an end to this nightmare. It is the sadness that those who most should lead often wish not anything other. But I will not force you to take that which you do not want. You are an honorable creature, Gorath. Small comfort in a world gone mad. Go, Obkar, in good health. Let us divide and conquer. Yeah, interesting note is that in the novelization of Betrayal at Krondor, which Raymond Feist styled Krondor the Betrayal, Obkar is given a bit more backstory here, and we find out that he and Gorath were actually sworn enemies, and that Gorath was responsible for the scar that Obkar had on his face. And this leads to a very Klingon-like sentiment, where Owen asks, how can you trust this guy who's your sworn enemy who swore a vow to kill you? And, the sentiment that Gorath expresses is, there's no one you can trust better than an old enemy. A friend may betray you at any time, but with an old enemy, you always know where you stand. The naphtha fumes made Owen ill. "We need to find masks for the vapor," Gorath said, looking about as if to find what he sought on the ground nearby. Frowning, Owen stirred his tongue companions. "Why do we need masks? We'll be holding our breath while we're swimming out." "It is a long swim. If your breath should fail you before you surface, it is likely you would breathe in the naphtha. If you lost consciousness, your death would be assured, as would mine." Well, we have the masks, or at least Owen had a mask, and now Gorath has a mask, so Owen felt dizzy, his head spinning from the strong effects of the fumes within the cavern. He stared at the naphtha-tainted water. "Are you prepared for the swim, or do you need to prepare for a bit?" "Leave." As he fit the vapor mask over his mouth and nose, he studied the water before him, watched as it poured in a never-ending stream into the rock from which he knew it must eventually empty back into the open air and freedom. Breathing deeply through the mask, he felt his head finally clear as he dropped into the river, Gorath splashing in beside him. The icy water was almost painful against his skin, and he found it somewhat ironic the vapor mask had finally allowed him to breathe a little easier, but now the cold had taken that luxury away. Struggling against his pain, he let the water carry him until he reached the dark mouth of the cave that would swallow him up as soon as he loosened his grip on the sides of the cavern. With a deep breath, deep as he was capable of, he let go. The dark beast sucked him into its gullet, and Owen's world disappeared into total darkness. Owen saw a dim light. It was hazy and without form, but it quickly began to grow in intensity and definition, and rushing beside it, pain. A dull, throbbing pain in his head and limbs that hurt more with each beat of his heart. His eyelids flickered open, and he could make out Gorath's form standing over him, but it was shrouded and somehow unreal, like a dream. But he knew it wasn't a dream. He knew he had survived the trip through the water cave, and with the realization he was alive, he managed to whisper hoarsely, "If you ever put us through that again, I will invent a cantrip whose sole purpose," he began to speak more rapidly and coherently, "is to cause you to fall desperately in love with a warthog. May the two of you live happily ever after." Gorath smiled, unusual for the normally sedate Moor at Hell, water still dripping from his hair. "I'm glad to see your sense of humor has returned. When you came up on the riverbanks and did not breathe, I was afraid you were lost." Owen stood slowly and painfully, and Gorath helped him with his pack, and soon they were ready to leave. So yeah, we escaped. Now we just have to get back to Armengar. Which, thankfully, we can fast travel a bit here. And back in the tavern. Abkar arrived here shortly before you and described a pair, a human boy and a Gorath of the Ardain. I was going to keep the reward for myself, but he insisted you were deserving of it. He's as reputable as I have heard of him. It could also be he wished to save you your life. Save your blade for someone more deserving. I will pay your fee. 200 gold and not a royal more of it. Food in our bellies and beds to rest on, an acceptable exchange for a man's life. I would ask one more thing of you, and then we will be gone from this place. Would you know where we could find a certain witch woman who is known as Kulik? I have heard word of her, yes. Fled south of Karen and west of the fork which leads to Wyke. Probably down there healing up Delacon's dogs. I wouldn't know. Our business at an inn, Armelin. Good fortune and health to you. And, interesting thing about Chapter 4 of this game is that the novelization that Raymond Feist wrote does stick oddly close to the story here. We do still have Gorath escaping from the dungeons and meeting with Lilinon. We do still have him breaking into the mines to free Abkar and win the aid of his assistants. And hey, we have a chest here. Once alive but now twisted around, is used by the Moor to Hell and men to punish their own kind. Well, that would be a noose. And nothing of use in here but gold, but and okay. Yes, as I was saying, really the only change from the story in the game and the story in the book is that we do not bother with the bit where we're trying to get a password. And we'll go ahead and use the spyglass here. just northwest of us. Is that we don't bother with the whole bit of having to get the password from Harlech. It is enough that we are able to free Obkar, and then his minion winds up helping us to get to Kolek, and then escorts us south of the teeth of the World Mountains. And I hope you'll forgive me skirting around this way, but we do want to stay off the main roads here. And this is faster than trying to move around them. Because, as he said, we need to go south of Karn to the fork in the road at Wyke, which we're almost there. And yeah, quite a lot of enemies here, whom our spell took out. Okay, so south of Karn, near the crossroads. Let's see, it was south of the crossroads, which means south of here. Well, tell you what, we're fairly close to it, but I'm not going to waste time making you watch me hunt for it. So we'll go ahead and stop here, and next time we will pick up at the house that we're seeking and this Kolek woman that Gorath wants to see. We'll see you next time.